Self-Management Network Scotland. Jenny Reeve, Beatroute Arts.
Hi folks, my name is Jenny Reeve. I'm the director of a charity called Beatroute Arts. We're based in Balornock, in near Springburn in the north of Glasgow. Um, we are primarily a community-led organisation based out of our building here, the Beatroute Arts Centre, which we bought into community ownership in 2021 after an asset transfer negotiated with Glasgow City Council, which took 5 years. So it was a pretty long and arduous process, but we finally concluded that in 21. And so from our premises, we run a variety of different projects. Um, so um, we tend to work with all different members of the community, but we focus upon those in our community who are the most vulnerable. So at the moment, our projects are for young people from ages 4 to 25, for older adults, and for adults with ASN. So we that's not prescriptive. So we are a reactive organisation as much as we possibly can be. So in and around those groups, we tend to support families. We have a lot of walk-ins from people on the street. We do a lot of signposting to other organisations in the community who may be able to help people that we don't directly provide for. Um, so maybe for people who are needing support with food and fuel and other resources, we try to connect out to other people in our community who can provide those. We are, however, primarily a music and arts charity, um, and so by nature of that, that's more of a what we would view as the vehicle for participation and the vehicle for engagement, which is why we also have a yoga group on the ground and the Healthy Minds group for adults with ASN, which is not necessarily what would be deemed to be artistic or musical, but is still coming from a kind of holistic standpoint. Um, so we run our projects Monday through Friday, and then we have private lets that come in at the weekend and help us to sustain our organisation by letting our hall at affordable prices for partnership groups. I don't know if you guys have come across the Dash Club before, but they're an organisation that work with young people with additional support needs who need after school care. So they provide care in that really essential gap between young people finishing school and parents finishing work. Largely the young people at the moment that they work with are coming from Ashton School near Auchinloch. Um, and so we have a really broad selection of activities on the grounds. So last year, for example, we worked with 1,373 people across a really broad range. So we've got our in-house provision, which runs Monday to Friday from the morning until the evening. And outreach work in local schools, including ASN classes and schools. And we also work with an ASN school in the south side called Hollybrook, um, providing music therapy, inclusive music education practice, whatever the school needs, really. Largely, the schools are coming to us with the Pupil Equality Fund, so it's really whatever their targets are through that fund that we try and cater what we're doing to. And our private letting, as well as I mentioned before, is something that we're trying to kind of focus in on. That's the balance that's quite hard to get because the more private letting we have coming in, the less time we have on the ground for our own groups. So we're constantly trying to find that sweet spot. Um, so yeah, our we're a member-led organisation, and so we run for example, our youth project has got the Youth Forum, which is led by a group of young volunteers. I think we've got anywhere between 27 and 30 volunteers across the organisation every year, um, who fulfil a wide range of different roles depending on age, stage, interest, what they're coming to us with in terms of time that they have to commit, etc. So we're very flexible that way as well. Very much led by the individual, very much led by need, which I'm sure you'll all be aware at the moment is high. And we do our best to meet that needs with a very, very small staff team. At the moment, we're a man down. So we're working on a basically I'm the only member of full-time staff at the moment, which is why this PowerPoint presentation is so hastily thrown together. Um, but we have about 25 members of freelance artistic and support staff on the ground as well. So we've got a wide freelance team on the ground who are engaging with our groups in the kind of facilitation side of things, a project manager who's leading and thinking ahead all the time in terms of strategically how that's working, and then engagement workers as well. So we've got an engagement worker for the adult programme and an engagement worker for the youth programme. And really they're the linchpin, the kind of vital kind of spoke in the wheel in terms of how the kind of organisation understands the need on the ground and how we translate that back into what we then provide for our members. Um, so I'm here to talk mostly about our Healthy Minds project, which is funded by the Health and Social Care Alliance, with some backshop costs that are covered by the lottery and other funders as well. We've got a full list of our funders on our website as well, I should say. I just haven't had a chance to put them in my slideshow here. But the Healthy Mind, so Beatroute, the Allsorts group itself came around as a result of, I think it was in 2017 or maybe 2016. There's a group on the ground called Community Lifestyles who are Glasgow wide, maybe even Scotland wide actually. And they had put the group on the ground at Beatroute, and it was a private let. And they ran out of funding and said we're going to have to pool the resource. And we really felt at that time that we'd got to know the members in the group. We could see that it was really benefiting people in the local area. I suppose the lens through which to view that is that in the Balornock, wider Springburn area at the moment there is no provision regularly on the ground for adults with additional support needs, which is something that we mapped actually with support from the Alliance at the stage one of our self-management funding. Was we commissioned a research paper with a PhD student from Glasgow University. And her findings were really quite grim. There was no provision. I mean, it was particularly in our G21, G33 catchment, which is where we're focused as a community organisation. But I'm sure you guys are aware that the provision generally is quite a challenge. So there was also other facets to that where our members were feeding back that they felt that a lot of times because provision was scarce, adults with additional support needs, there was an expectation that anything would do. So they would be taken to a local group or whatever, and their interests and their needs weren't really considered. It's just that they would go to wherever, and it was better than walking the street or going to Silverburn or whatever was kind of the feedback that we were getting. And so the Beatroute Allsorts group is now two days a week. So Tuesday it is the Allsorts Create group, and that's where they take part in inclusive music practice, music tuition, group music making, gardening is a big one for them as well. Quite often we'll bring in third party like visual arts is really popular. Anything that's really tactile and kind of really creative is a big thing for our members. And when we were thinking about needs and this kind of increase in need that we were seeing on the ground, we were also hearing a lot around, we felt that people were disenfranchised. We felt that they were disempowered. There was a lack of opportunity for adults with additional support needs to be at the forefront of the conversation around how their protected characteristics were compounded by the fact they lived in an area of high deprivation as well. So looking at it through the lens of they're as impacted as everybody else in that area of high deprivation, but also on top of we're dealing with another set of challenges altogether that other people were largely unaware of. And through chatting to our members in the community, we became kind of aware that people were interested in how they could cook for themselves at home, how like that sense of being able to prepare food was such a vital part of their identity, of their learning, of their confidence, and sense of achievement. And also it's a social thing, sharing food together is such a social part of all cultures, really, in terms of how we come together as people. And that's really what we try to do at Beatroute across the board, and particularly with the Allsorts group, is imbue a sense of self. So it's a sense of like I am, an individual who plays the guitar. I'm an individual who's really good at playing the bass. I can make a cracking lasagna rather than I have this set of, quote unquote tick box disabilities. And while that might be the case, we like to feel that when they come to Beatroute, they are part of the Beatroute group. They are a key member of the peer and steering group. Their voices are heard, their voices resonate, and they directly influence the direction of the services that benefit them. So that's really where we're coming from with this. Um, so our Healthy Minds group runs every Wednesday from 10:30 till 2. Um, in the morning, you'll see the bottom left there, they work with Norman, our wonderful yoga teacher. And Norman really adapts his yoga practice for everybody in the room. For all sort of caters for all interests. And we did have some resistance at first with people saying, "Oh, no, 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 yoga's not for me." But I feel like over time we've kind of got to a point where our members are really starting to realize, "Oh, actually, this is really beneficial for me. It's fun, it's inclusive, I can do it." And we've also had it fed back to us that for a lot of our members, this is perhaps the only physical activity that they have in their weekly calendar. And what that's doing for the members and for caregivers is highlighting the importance of movement and also the importance of linking the mind and the body for well-being and so on. Um, so the yoga is a big one. Norman's often thinking outside the box there. They've been doing rock star yoga, they've been doing spaceman yoga. They'll come with themes and suggestions, and it can just be a bit silly and fun. But it encourages the group really to think creatively about how they use, the physical space, how they use their bodies in the physical space as well. Um, and we've been working primarily with North Glasgow Healthy Living Communities to deliver the cookery aspect of the project, which is really the linchpin of the project. Our members just adore cooking. They adore it. And they are really in control of what they're cooking. So they'll come with ideas about what they would like to cook, what kinds of foods they like to eat. And that's led to discussions as well around, what's healthy, what isn't healthy, what is easy for people to cook at home, what is affordable for people to cook at home. And that's been a big thing as well. Can we create dishes that don't require our members to have to use energy at home, for example, because we've got people that are really struggling with that as well, with financially. Um, and so they come together every week, they cook together and they eat together. And that's a massive part of the social aspect of this group as well. And so the hall is just filled with amazing smells. Um, and this led on to the idea when we first applied that wouldn't it be lovely to turn that into something really tangible for them? So they're cooking these recipes, but wouldn't it be lovely to include their work in something like a cookbook? And this is kind of what we were thinking along the lines of. And so every week they would take away a recipe. They maybe the other thing is they can take away tubs of food, put them in the freezer, and it gives them something to eat at home as well. But we've had feedback that quite a few of our members have kind of memorized and internalized the recipes and are actually cooking for themselves at home, which is lovely, or are less afraid for we've got one member who's really terrified of things spitting at him, for example, when he's cooking something on the hob, and now he's kind of overcome that to be able to help him and his brother live together and to help his brother prepare meals together at home. And then through the evolution of the cookery, members became curious about where their food came from, and because we have quite a big garden at Beatroute, we were able to work with Black Hills Growing, which is St Paul's Youth Forum, who are just over the hill from us, who have come in and delivered a series of cookery workshops gardening workshops in the garden space, and the members have just been loving that. And we've been able to incorporate some of the produce now that we're into harvest season. Those produce are now starting to get used in the kitchen. And a couple of weeks ago, they pickled the beetroot that they'd grown, and everyone's going to get a jar of beetroot to take home. And we also use it as an evaluation practice as well. So the idea of planting something from seed, bringing it on, preserving it, and then labeling it, what are we hoping for the future? So that's become an evaluation practice for us to really understand the importance of that sort of embedded approach to what we're doing. Um, And so yeah, here's just a picture of the guys out in the garden. Not quite sure they're planting marigolds there, which are a companion plant, to stop our friends, the slugs and snails, going after all our delicious cabbages and so on. Um, and also part of the provision on the Wednesday when we were thinking about the cookbook, to make a cookbook we have to illustrate the cookbook. Um, and the guys worked with a graphic artist. And so Jules Shield, who's a graphic artist, was able to come and work alongside our members to illustrate the book and really bring it to life. So like our members are all the way through the cookbook as talking heads, providing tips and kind of their ideas, like maybe sort of like we've got a member, for example, who's got diabetes, and so he pops up through the book with alternatives that people might consider using if they're diabetic, or yeah, what they've even got a playlist at the bottom of each page. So what tunes they like to listen to when they're cooking this particular recipe, or what it reminds them of. You know, it's as good as my mum's or whatever. You know, so it just makes it really relatable. We also have lists of ingredients with like kind of pictorials of what those ingredients look like. So for example, instead of meat, we've got, you know, meat substitutes as well and things like that in the book. Um, so the book itself looks like this. And so this is all our members on the front cover here taking part in their cookery. Um, and I should have a book to show you. I don't, which is silly. But if anybody would like a cookbook, you can let me know. And they're hardback. They lie flat open. They're easy clean, and that was our members wanted the books to look that way because they recognised that in the kitchen it was really easy for members just to be able to open at the page they wanted it to be open at, that it was easy to wipe clean, that it was big enough print, that it was easy to understand. So all of that, those kind of like sort of all the thoughts of our members from some lived and learned experience are kind of in the sort of design and format of the book itself. And so we launched the book last year. I think Chris came along to the launch, and it was an opportunity for our members to really celebrate um, their achievement, really. Here they all are on the top right with their cookbook. Um, Now the slide earlier, sorry, slightly out of line here. So these the tote bag and the aprons you can see here and the tea towels were all with Print Clan, who are a wonderful organisation who do really wonderful accessible workshops for all different types of people from community. And these were to help us to raise funds for the All Sorts group, as was the book. So they flew off the shelves. We sold out of aprons. We've sold out of tea towels. The book we're running quite low on as well. But it was a wonderful opportunity for all of our members to take active roles within the launch as well. So on the bottom left here, you can see some of our members greeting partners, stakeholders, family with some non-alcoholic fizzy. Um, and then there's Chris, the top left, the audience themselves, and then the stall at which they sold their book. So during the event itself, they did an inclusive yoga session with Norman. So Norman sat and everybody in the room did their yoga together. And then one of our members, Stephen, did an interview with our then project manager, Lauren, about the evolution of the project, what it meant to him, what it meant to the group, which was really impactful. And everybody was really buzzing afterwards. I think it was just a really great event and really great and sort for the group's sense of kind of inclusion and being a member of that group and really being part of something from start to finish. And as a result of Healthy Minds, here are just some of the things that have come back to us. So 88% of our members felt they better understood how breathing techniques can help the body and mind. 100% of our members expressed pride and achievement. 100% felt that they developed new cooking skills, including mixing, chopping vegetables, improving their timings, for example. Um, and there's a really touching quote here, which is one of our members who says, I get to do socialising. It used to be the only people I talked to were the people in farm foods, but I talk to everyone in here. And that's really for us, that's it in a nutshell, is this person has such a vital link back to the people in their community, and not just to the community in which they live, but to their community of other people who understand their life, what it is for them, and to provide that really kind of vital, empowered sense of being part of something. And that's why we do what we do. Oh, and just to throw it in at the end, we also took ownership of a Glasgow subway car last year. So 117 arrived in November. She's in our backyard at the moment and will be getting developed to be a fully inclusive community resource. So at the moment, we're looking at infrastructure for people who, with limited mobility, wheelchair users, to make it safe for everybody to be able to use that space. So hopefully, if I can get my head into some capital fundraising, this will become a really well used part of the Beetroot Garden. It's already very well loved. We've got a lot of people that come to check up on her on a daily basis in the community. And this is her arriving. It was crazy. So you can see her here being hoisted over our building, which was a little scary. Maybe one of the slightly more bonkers things I've decided to do with my career, but there you go. So that's me. Thanks, folks.